AITA, my wife, became emotionally abusive since giving birth. She topped it off by cheating. Now she is begging me to reconsider. I, 28M, have been married to my wife, 27F, for 2 years, and we've been together for 4. 14 months ago, we had our first baby. I knew that having a child would change our lives, but I never could have predicted just how much my wife would change. The woman I married, the person I loved and built a life with, disappeared the moment our son was born. Before our son was born, our marriage was great. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but overall, we were happy. My wife was funny, kind, and full of life. We were that couple who would stay up late talking about everything, our dreams, our fears, our goals for the future. She was affectionate and loving. We had a great sex life, we took care of each other, and we always worked as a team. But after she gave birth, it was like a switch flipped. At first, I chalked it up to postpartum struggles. I expected her to be exhausted, overwhelmed, and emotional. I knew it was a huge adjustment, and I was prepared to support her in any way I could. I took time off work to help with the baby, I made sure she had time to rest, and I tried to take as much of the burden off her shoulders as possible. But instead of being grateful or even acknowledging my efforts, she became angry. At first, it was just irritability. Small things would set her off. Me loading the dishwasher wrong, me asking if she wanted to take a nap, me offering to pick up groceries. She started blaming me for everything. If the baby cried, it was my fault. If the laundry wasn't folded immediately, I was useless. If I asked how she was feeling, I was insensitive. I kept telling myself, she's just struggling right now, she needs time. I gave her space, I did my best to avoid arguments, and I made sure to always be understanding. But things didn't get better. They got worse. After a few months, I realized that I wasn't just dealing with a stressed-out new mother. I was dealing with someone who had completely checked out of our marriage. She stopped doing anything around the house. She spent all day sitting on the couch, holding the baby, even when he didn't need to be held, scrolling through her phone, and doing nothing else. Every single household responsibility fell on me. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, grocery shopping. And on top of all that, I was the sole breadwinner because she decided she didn't want to go back to work. That was her choice, and I supported it because I wanted her to be happy and comfortable. But the emotional abuse was the worst part. It didn't matter what I did. I was always the villain. If I asked her what she wanted for dinner, she'd snap at me for not making a decision myself. If I made a decision, she'd get mad that I didn't ask her. If I cleaned the kitchen, she'd find one thing wrong and make me feel like I was incompetent. If I tried to talk about my own stress, she'd say I was being selfish because she was the one staying home with the baby all day. She was constantly belittling me, criticizing me, and making me feel like nothing I did was good enough. And the intimacy? Gone. We hadn't had sex in over 1.5 years. I never pushed, I never pressured her, but I did bring it up around 3 months postpartum, just to see how she felt. She exploded at me, called me selfish, said I only cared about my own needs, and made me feel like a monster just for asking. After that, I never mentioned it again. At this point, I was barely holding on. I dreaded coming home. I felt like I was walking on eggshells all the time. I considered divorce, but I was terrified of what it would mean for my son, terrified of the social backlash, and deep down, terrified of the unknown. But then, last month, she made my decision for me. She told me she was going out with friends to a bar. I was actually relieved because I thought maybe getting out of the house and socializing would help her mood. She came home at 4 a.m., drunk, barely able to walk straight. As soon as she passed out, I had a gut feeling, one I couldn't ignore. Something told me to check her phone. I never snoop. I always believed in trust and privacy. But that night, I knew something was off. And sure enough, I found exactly what I feared. Texts with a random guy, flirty messages, explicit photos. And then, the worst part, texts implying they had gone to a hotel together that night. I felt relieved, not angry, not betrayed, just relieved. Relieved because I finally had an undeniable reason to walk away. Relieved because I no longer had to convince myself that I was imagining how bad things were. Relieved because I had an out. The first thing I did was take a DNA test. I needed to know for sure that my son was mine before I made any decisions. The results came back. He was mine. That was the only thing keeping me from completely breaking down. As soon as I got the results, I confronted her. I told her I knew about her affair and that our marriage was over. I expected her to be defensive, to lash out, to try and turn it around on me. But instead, she broke down. She cried. She sobbed. She begged me not to leave. She said she made a mistake, that she was drunk, that she didn't know what she was doing. She blamed everything. Her postpartum depression, her past trauma, the alcohol, the stress of being a mother. She promised to go to therapy, to change, to do whatever it took to fix our marriage. But it was too late. I had already checked out of this marriage long before she cheated. The infidelity was just the final nail in the coffin. I told her I was done. Since then, we've still been living under the same roof, but I refuse to speak to her unless it's about our son. She still tries every day, writing me long messages, leaving me notes, trying to start conversations. She's suddenly willing to do all the things she refused to do before. But I'm done. Some of our mutual friends and family members think I'm being too harsh. They say postpartum depression is real, that I shouldn't just throw away my marriage. They tell me I should at least try therapy before making a final decision. But where was this concern when I was struggling? Where was this energy when I was being treated like garbage every single day? I know I'm never going to trust her again. Even if I could somehow forgive the cheating, I can't forget the way she treated me. So, ready. AITA for refusing to reconsider?